pharmaceutical industries who do understand this, which is an alternative. On dispensaries, it's not young people there, it's old people there. It works. And here's why you know it's works. They're using that instead of their pharmaceutical partner.
Welcome to another edition of Capital Times Bay Club. I'm Gillum, and we're honored to have John.Morgan back with us again. So there was a squabble, and I'm not sure if he's going to be talking about it all, between our speaker John and my former mayor Andrew Gillum. And it was a little Twitter action that went back and forth, and it had to do with some campaign money. So I reached out to Andrew, and then he reached out to a friend of his and actually arranged for, it's a check for $30 million. $3 million. Don's is $30 million, this is $3 million. It's drawn on the Bank of Costa Rica. And evidently he got the money from a friend of his named Mike Miller. He signed it right here. So here's a check, sir. Thank you very much for coming, and I'm sure that you have room on your plane for us.
Welcome back. We're happy to have you here. I was asked to introduce you because apparently people think that trial lawyers and we all like each other. Most trial lawyers think of John like mom and pop retail outlets think about Walmart and Amazon. Welcome to Tiger Bank.
Well, I have to start by getting my usual business out of the way whenever I speak to a group anywhere. And it goes like this. And I always like to start the speech with the most important part of the speech. If you've been injured in an automobile accident, heard of the job, or if you ate that fried chicken, you may get sick as shit. I was looking at Dave Mike's chicken, I'm like, nope. Little was kind of moving there. When I woke up this morning, I got dressed, came up from Orlando, and you know, when you get dressed, the last thing you do is you walk out the door and you look at yourself in the mirror, in a full-length mirror, and I did. And I kind of liked the way I looked. But then I looked at myself closer and I said, you know, today, it looks like I dressed up like Robert Kraft, the owner of the Boston football team. And I mean, he's always got this white collar and this and the blue suit. And I started thinking about Robert Kraft's problems with the massage parlor down in West Palm Beach. And then I started thinking, you know, if they had me on tape getting a massage the way Robert Kraft got his massage, and they were asking me to plead to a misdemeanor or the tape would be released, I would plead to the misdemeanor. And then I started thinking, before I let my fat ass be shown on tape, I'd plead to a felony. And I would allow the Florida margins to take my license that day, because it just would be too much for me and my family to bear. I have been coming to Tallahassee for a long time. I started thinking about how many times I've been to Tallahassee when I was preparing for this speech, and I thought about some of the people who first brought me to Tallahassee. When I went to the University of Florida in 1974, I met the student body power brokers, who were my mentors in life, which was probably a mistake for me. Jim Eaton, Bill Rubin, Tyree Boyer, Tom Tedcastle. And they introduced me to student politics, and then we started coming to Tallahassee. One time I got to come to Tallahassee, my roommate, Rick Dantzler, who was a senator up here for a while, he had a political science assignment. He actually got an interview with Leroy Collins, who was probably one of the great politicians in the history of the South and the history of the country. he was a progressive when nobody knew what the word progressive meant. And we went out to the Grove and we had lunch, and we interviewed Leroy Collins, and the other guy that was with us, Craig Clifton, was in charge of the tape recording. And we got in the car. It was just a fantastic day. And Rick pulled over and said, play some of it. I need to hear it. Craig had forgot to turn the volume up on the tape recorder, so we had absolutely nothing from but we had a great day with Leroy Collins. When I was in a fraternity council, Dave and I were not roommates. We were in fraternities. Now, I got into the superior fraternity at ATL. Dave was denied a bid at ATL, and he had to settle for Delta Chi, which is nice guys, but just not ATOs. Reggie was one lower down, SE, right, Reggie? But I know Dave liked him for a long time. And then when I got older, I met guys like Brian Ballard and Reggie Garcia, and then I became the president of Florida Blue Key, and then I really started coming to Tallahassee a lot when I was president of Florida Blue Key. And when I was president of Florida Blue Key, I came to Tallahassee and got to meet Bob Graham, who I consider one of the great men of our time. I ran for president. I had one of his very first campaign fundraisers at my hotel in Lake Mary. And then I got to meet and come here and hang out when I was Florida Blue Key president with Stephen O'Connell. One time somebody wrote about Stephen O'Connell that he was a bon vivant. Well, I'm from Kentucky, so my grammar and dictionary words, so I had to look up bon vivant. And I will tell you this, Stephen O'Connell was a bon vivant and a very, very cool guy. So I got to come to Tallahassee to see him. Like Dave, we were all sharing Long Childs, my ATO fraternity brother, Ed Childs. Father became governor of the state of Florida. And then we had a whole lot of fun coming to Tallahassee with Ed Childs. And then later in life, as I became a trial lawyer, I got to meet legislators and governors. Fought like crazy with Jeb Bush. But now, years later, I look at Jeb Bush and I think he's one of the finest men in the United States of America. In the United States of America. I was going to invest big money with Jeb Bush and that baseball team. And I had my money lined up, and I told him he got the right number. Luckily, Derek Jeter outbid Jeb. And I think saved Jeb a whole lot of hurt, because I was like to own the Florida Marlins right now. So Jeb became a great friend, and last week got an email from Jeb Bush Jr. referred me a personal injury case to Miami, and I'm like, you know, nobody would have ever seen this coming a long time ago. And then I met Charlie Crist here. Charlie Crist became my great friend. I will tell you this, he became a lawyer in my firm. He is, without question, one of the nicest human beings. There is not a mean bone in his body. And I love Charlie Crist. And one time he told me, he said, you know, John, you're not really a Democrat. And I said, well, you know, Charlie, you're not really a Republican. It seems like we were both right about each other. And then I got to come here when Charlie picked Jeff Kotkamp, a Morgan lawyer, to be his lieutenant governor. And then I got to come here again to Tallahassee when Charlie Crist appointed Jim Perry to the Supreme Court. And I got to come here and give that speech at Jim's swearing in. And I've seen all the presidents and speakers, and I've been friends with a lot of them. I don't agree with a lot of them. I'm friends with Richard Corcoran, but I think his position on private schools and charter schools is atrocious. I think charter schools and for-profit prisons is an abomination. I think that for all of us, the heroes for me in America, probably for you, have been our teachers. And yet we are draining that swamp to make rich people richer so people can go to a charter school and wear uniforms. But I do like Richard. I just don't like a lot of his politics. I saw Rick Scott come here. He won 3 times. Beat Charlie once, beat Alex wants to beat Bill Nelson. One thing I learned from those elections is it is very hard to beat money. Who would have ever thought you could complete the Fifth Amendment 45 times and be elected to these positions? If you ever want to know what the power of money is, just think about that. The only people that I know that pled the Fifth Amendment other than him was John.I'll, Casey Anthony, and Al. But the power of money, we saw it there. And he taught us that money matters. And then in the Charlie Crist race, I brought the whole dream team to the Charlie Crist race. I brought Jim Messina, and I brought Margolis, and I brought Angelo, and I brought all of Obama's people to that race. And we lost by just a fraction. Going into the last week, Charlie was 3 points up. And Scott's people had him 3 points up. And then Scott put in $12 million of his own money. And then it went from 3 to 2. The last poll was 0. And then Rick Scott won in the squeaker. Money matters in politics. And one of the reasons that I'm so irritated with Andrew Gillum is because he took our money and never used it. He was not my first choice. He was not my second choice. He was not my third choice. I couldn't get Gwen on board with marijuana. I couldn't get, the mayor of Miami Beach on board with my marijuana, so I just sat back. But Andrew is certainly not my first, second, or third choice. But when he got the nomination, here was my feeling. Wouldn't it be awesome for an African American to be the governor of the state of Florida? I was on board with that. Wouldn't it be great for a governor to be here at a time when women's rights to control their own bodies is going to be so under assault like it's going to be in the South and in Florida? And for many reasons, even though Andrew wasn't my first, second, or third choice, my firm and me wrote checks of $1.7 million. And then at the very end, we got a call from him saying, we need money. If we can get the money, we can win this thing. And then I wired $250,000 at the very end. Because the promise was we're going to spend it and we're going to win, and the values that you value are going to have a chance to be leading Florida. Well, we now know what happened to that money at the end. When I looked at Andrew's campaign, I never thought he had a chance at the end, even at the end after 250. I didn't come to Tallahassee that night for his victory party. I let Puff Daddy do that. What I did do, though, is I did a thing once a year at Google in New York, and I decided to just have supper after my Google event, and I didn't go. And Phil Levine, the mayor of Miami Beach, he said, "Why aren't you going?" I said, "He's going to lose." I said, "I don't like to go to parties when we lose. I like to go to parties when we win." And he said, "Why do you think he's going to lose?" I said, "Let me tell you something. Think about it as running for office. This is your platform. Real simple. We're going to tax Florida $1 billion. We're going to abolish ICE. We're going to alienate the Jewish community. We're going to say we're socialist. How will that go over with the Cubans in Miami? We're going to get the nomination, and we're not even going to call Wynn Graham. We're not even going to call Wynn Graham and say, 'Can you help me?' Much less put her on the ticket. Do you think Wynn Graham could have been enough? But instead he picked a guy named Chris King. I thought it was Doogie Howser when I first saw the picture. He got like 13 votes in the 13 votes, and it's him, his wife, his father, his mother, and some family members. He picks that guy. I knew we were going to lose. But what I worry about now is that money that we gave him, that we trusted him with, that same money that Ron DeSantis was using at the very end, every last dime, and that Rick Scott, again, in this election against Bill Nelson, using every last dime. He kept that money and didn't use it. And even if you didn't use it, you say, well, give it back. I gave it to you to use for ads and give it back. No. I'm going to register 2 million people to vote. Really? How many of you registered? Jeff Green called me a few weeks ago. He says, called me from St. Harbor. He goes, did you know Andrew Gillum kept our money? I said, yeah, I did. He got another guy on the phone named Don Peoples. He said, did you know Andrew Gillum kept our money? I said, yeah, I did. Andrew Gillum kept that money to promote Andrew Gillum. I gave my money to promote the things I believe in. And then when he gets cornered and I call him out, he says, I don't live on his plantation. Okay? When he was called out for ethics violations, you know what he said? I don't live on his plantation. And then he pled guilty to the ethics violations. My message to Andrew Gillum is, hey dude, with $3.7 million of our money, you can buy a plantation for yourself. You can get a plantation out here for $3.7 million. He's not registered voters, he's promoting himself. But I got news for him. When Jeff Green was on the phone with me, Jeff Green had pulled out all the expenses that he's using this money for. $10,000 to Sean Pittman, lobbyists, pollsters. What votes are being? I told Andrew when it happened, I said, Andrew, if you want to do something with, if you want to register voters, take that $3.7 million and pay the felons fines that don't have the money to pay their fines. Use that money if you really believe that you were here to register voters. You're not here to register voters. Instead, what that money's being used for, the other thing, another expense that Jeff Green found was Jimmy John's sandwiches. $30 worth of Jimmy John's sandwiches. Well, look, I think he thinks he has another day in politics. I don't think he has another day. He's never going to be able to come back to me or Jeff Green or Don Peoples or the unions and all those people that said, I'm going to give you the money, and they didn't use it, and they didn't give it back, and they didn't use it to go to the felons who cannot get registered to vote because they don't have the money, because the legislature here set it up so they would never get to register to vote because they don't have the money. Instead, he's using that money today to pay Sean Pittman and other cronies and to buy Jimmy John's when he gets hungry. When he called me, he said to me, I don't live on your plantation. One thing he did not know about me and plantations is that once upon a time, I represented the black farmers in America. It was a political act called the Pigford Act, where real discrimination had taken place in the Deep South, where farmers had been discriminated against by the federal government. I took the Pigford Act. I brought Harry Reid to my beach house in Florida, and he said, we're going to get it done. I met with Nancy Pelosi, who's probably my closest friend in politics to this day. She took my children to Dar es Salaam to stay the night with the Dalai Lama last year. She signed off on it. And then Barack Obama, who came to my house for dinner and a fundraiser, he signed it into law. And I got, not Andrew Gillum, I got $1.2 billion as an act of Congress for black farmers who've been discriminated against forever and ever and ever. And what I would say, Andrew Gillum, when you start playing that race card, you diminish real claims. Because I'm in the business of race discrimination and gender discrimination and age discrimination. And when you do that, you diminish real claims. And if he does decide to run, I do believe I have a cause of action. I do believe I will sue him to get that $3.7 billion back for the ones who gave it at the end, and I do believe I'll win. So that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about Randy Andy. So I'll touch briefly on marijuana. I think when I die, that in the obituary there's going to be a lot of things written about me. The one thing that's true is I have been a most imperfect person. I have raised a shitload of hell, and I've had one of the best lives of anybody in the state of Florida. Probably drank too much, probably had too much fun, but at the end of the night, I think about medical marijuana. I will tell you all that it's one of the greatest things I've ever done. It's one of the things I'm most proud of in my life. I got beat, and I came back, and I won with 72% of the vote. I will tell you why I'm so happy about it. It is because so many people come up to me and thank me for that. When I landed today, Reggie was there. The people who greeted me at the plane thanked me for what I've done to the state of Florida. They're not thanking me for anything but medical marijuana. Everywhere I go, people thank me for medical marijuana. I was walking on the beach. It is also hard for me to walk on the beach. I was walking on the beach and this guy stops his bike. He says, "Oh my gosh, John.Morgan, my name's Willie from Georgia. I want to thank you for medical marijuana." And then he started coming towards me and he was sweating. And I was sweating. And he's coming home with his, we're going to hug him now with, shirtless. I want to hug Willie from Georgia shirtless. And then Willie hugged, then Willie put his arms around me. And I felt that wet bird nest on my shoulder. And then he pulled me close, and I think I was like up on his nipples here. And I'm hugging Willie on Ponce Inlet Beach. And then he said, "Let's get a picture." And then he put the bird's nest back over my shoulder. But I took the hottest friggin' shower you ever had. I've never had a bar of soap in the swimming pool, but when I got home, that bird nest has been all over me, that wet bird nest. Like, whoa, really? And people say, "Do you have a medical marijuana card?" I've applied for one. So I said, "Well, my doctor said, what is your condition?" I said, "I have PTSD. He said, "Did you serve in the military?" "No." "You a first responder?" "No." "How did you get PTSD?" I go, "Fucking Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America. How the hell do you think I got PTSD?" You know what the doctor said? There you go. So if you want any marijuana, I recommend Jimmy Buffett's Coral Reefer. It's fantastic. And now it's time for recreational marijuana. Back in college, certain of my friends smoked marijuana. Some of them, like Reggie Garcia, sold marijuana. And it was nothing serious, it was just dime bags. And I really believe that's why Reggie has a passion passion for felons, because he knows his ass will be going to jail at any given moment. He's still got PTSD from those worries. He's written this great bestseller, How to Leave Prison Early, by Reggie Garcia, which, by the way, was just banned by the Department of Corrections. And I told Reggie, I said, listen, dude, this is the best thing that you can ever have in your book. If the felons are banned from getting this book, they will have this book. It's like when God told Adam, don't eat the apple, Adam said, I'm going to eat the apple. The felons, and I've told Reggie, he wants the brand, you got a brand statement? Reggie Garcia, for the felons. I believe now is the time for recreational marijuana. Listen, people have been put in jail for no good reasons. The people of color, the poor people, that's who's really suffering. I'm in favor of recreational marijuana. I'm in favor of homegrown marijuana. I'm one of the lawyers that represents states in the opioid litigation. I just had a big ruling this week in Kentucky, Oklahoma. I got counties in Oklahoma. That case was won $500 million this week. I'm on the MDL in Cleveland. We're going to try that case. I'm trying my firm is trying the third bellwether in Palm Beach later this year. The opioid industry, the pharmaceutical industry, is an industry like tobacco that Don knows very well. And both of these industries are in the business of premeditated murder. They know what they're doing. They call tobacco smokers the new ones replacement smokers, because we lose 500,000 people a year. So this marijuana issue has got to go away. And so I'm going to promote this amendment. I'm working with the industry to help them get this on the ballot. Me and Ben Blair gathered 1 million signatures twice, so I know where signatures are. And guess who was that fought me on this? You know who my greatest adversary was? This Sheldon Adelson. Now think about it. Sheldon Adelson, who runs that big hotel in Vegas, poured in millions of dollars to help Florida from this terrible, terrible thing called marijuana. I'm like, dude, you got a hotel that's in a city where it says, what goes on here, we don't ever talk about it ever again for the rest of our lives. Where people are smoking marijuana around his pool deck, where people are losing their life savings in his casinos, and probably more extramarital affairs go on than any place per capita in America. And Sheldon Adelson's going to come in here and say medical marijuana is no good with his little buddy, Mel Sindler. I don't know if you're about Mel Sindler. If you want to find the guy that I find the most disgusting person in the state of Florida, it's Mel Sindler. And if you want to know why, Google Straight Ink. This was a torture chamber that they built for kids with drug problems. Just Google Straight Ink and see what Mel Sindler and his wife did to those people. The wife looks just like him, but she wears a dress. But I will thank our governor, Ron DeSantis. Here's my read on DeSantis. I don't really know him real well. I think that DeSantis has, this is a compliment, I think DeSantis has a form of Asperger's. And that's a good thing. Like Steve Jobs had Asperger's. This DeSantis is a very smart guy. Harvard, Yale. He looked at that. I had to sue Rick Scott and Pam Bondi, the great constitutional scholar for the state of Florida. Like a dog jumping through hoops at the circus. I had to sue them because we were allowed to have smoke. And they sued me. But you know what DeSantis said to me when he came to Florida, to Orlando, and dropped the suit? He goes, your language was unambiguous. Because he's smart. And he looked at it. And I will tell you all this. 2 reasons I'm NPA registered. 1 is Andrew Gillum, and 2 is Ron DeSantis. I'm not against this guy yet. But give me time. But so far, so good, and I think it's because he is a real genius in a real serious way. So let me tell you finally about my last crusade. I am 63 years old now. I know I look like $1 million, but I am 63 years old. People say to me, you know, I've always hated my fat face. My whole life I had a fat face. I look like Don Hinkle. And yes, we are. I got your resume. We were thinking about bringing out over this morning. That verdict maybe puts you in. I've always hated my fat face, but as I'm getting older, those people that had those skinny faces that I wanted to have, as we're getting older, they're becoming gaunt. And me, I'm becoming fucking chiseled right now. Right before your very eyes. The fat is morphing into chisel. I'm looking forward to being 73 because I'm going to be, you know, looking really buff. I'm 63 years old. I'm most likely in my last quarter. When you get to this age, you start to think more about success, less about success, and more about significance. You really start to think about what it is you should be doing. You really do start thinking about, is there a God, is there not a God, and if there is a God, what's his plan for you? What's her plan for you? When I look at it, what I can do, and I have been lucky. I have been very, very lucky. And when I think about what I have, and I think about what I could do, I look at that last election. And why did Donald Trump win? Donald Trump won because there's a whole bunch of people that are desperate. The same voters that voted for Donald Trump voted for Bernie Sanders, by the way. It's these men and women who live these lives of quiet desperation. They live in quicksand. No matter how hard they swim, they finally get out and they slide back in. The transmission goes out, the radiator goes out, the air conditioning goes out, they slide back in. 40% of America only has $400 or less in case of emergency. One of the things that's been lucky in my life is I was poor. Very poor. And when I look back at my childhood, it was like, my God, did I really live that? But I do know what hopelessness tastes like. I do know what desperation feels like. And I do know what despair looks like. I am glad that I had that life, because that is a taste you never forget. When I look at those days, it's actually been a gift to me, those days. I think those days have made me more empathetic, more compassionate, and in a better chance to do good in my last quarter. I believe strongly in the separation of church and state. Strongly. But I cannot separate what I learned in church and Sunday school from what we're supposed to do in this life. I think of those words that I learned in those classes. Whatsoever you do for the least of you, you do for me. When I think of the God that I think about, I don't think of a guy in heaven with angels and clouds. For me, God lives in people. When I look at you, I don't just see you, I see God. And I know that's true for a lot of reasons. This idea that I have is getting a lot of pushback. It shouldn't. This is a conservative idea, Dave. Oil guys don't have enough money to pay minimum wage to file clerks. Dave. Delta Chi Dave. This is a conservative idea. Why? People are staying home and not going to work because they can get more money by staying on the government dole. That's ass backwards. The money we're spending on our tax dollars to let people stay at home and not empower them is crazy. Nobody rides a bus because they want to ride a bus. They ride a bus because they're poor. And by the way, when he was talking about that bus, about making fun of that bus, and people have been making fun of me and my accident cases. People call me my whole life, you know, he's an ambulance chaser. And I get very offended by that, and I'll tell you why. With the technology I have, I get there way before the ambulance gets there. Don't ever try to diminish me. Don't ever try to diminish me in front of people like that. It's a conservative idea. And I'm not saying right away, I'm saying 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 over a period of years. People think, oh, what about the small business, poor small businesses, poor small business. Let me tell you something. You know how many billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars the small businesses in America don't pay in taxes? You know how much cash changes hands with small business and they don't pay taxes? Do you know how many wage and hour claims I have? I have 25 lawyers who do nothing but wage and hour lawsuits because they don't pay fair wages that they really owe. That's my business. That's the business I'm in. Years ago, everybody said, oh, this will be a catastrophe for the economy. That was the argument in the South when they said, if we free the slaves, the economy is going to go to hell. Remember that? Remember the Civil War? If we free these slaves, the economy is going to go to hell. We went to war over it. Well, listen, by God, I'm going to go to war over wages for the people who get up and are the working poor. There's a Morgan food bank in Orlando. We feed 250,000 people a year. You know who a month? You know who goes there? The working poor in uniforms. I'll pay 50 cents more for a hamburger. Won't you? When I gave all my people in the firm $15 an hour raise last year, it was palpable. People were sobbing. People were crying. It is life-changing. You all don't know it because you may not have that despair or forgot what it tastes like. This is not a political issue. This is an issue of morals and ethics and religion. And when you remember those other words from Sunday school, when I was hungry, you gave me to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. When I was naked, you clothed me. When I was young. Those are the words we've been taught what to do. All religions, all of your religions, Judaism, Muslim, Buddhism, Christianity, there's one last and only message. Love God, love people. Jesus, the religion of mine, said, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments have all the law and the prophets. I hope you join me in this fight. Hope you think long and hard about it. And what I hope you do most of all in life is love God and love people. And when you live your life for the people and love people, then and only then are you actually loving God. Thank you.